Japan, land of experimentation, innovation, eccentricity. Qualities also showcased in one of the country's favorite preoccupations, food.
The Japanese have a certain obsession in their food culture.
アイスクリームです。これは溶けない。
Almost like food porno.
Japanese food has captured the imagination.
I think there's a nice contradiction in the fact that so many foods have come to Japan and become Japanese.
Food here is stamped with a trademark ingenuity.
世界でこういう食材に対してこういう考え方をするのは僕らだけね。食の世界で正義を行いたい。
Turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, the Japanese are always perfecting and inventing.
Constant innovation, that's what makes it Japanese.
Discovering the essence of Japanese cuisine is to reveal the true Japanese spirit. Japan, where beauty and artistry are everywhere. This devotion to high aesthetics has elevated their cuisine to an art form. Every detail is fine-tuned to flawlessness. Creativity and passion poured into the pursuit of the perfect meal.
Whether it's the high connoisseurship of kaiseki or the low slurping of a bowl of noodles, Japanese people take food very seriously.
It is perhaps the most iconic dish from the land of the rising sun, and famous the world over. Sushi. Sushi is nothing if not a quest for the best. The finest seafood money can buy, brought to the plate with uncompromising perfectionism. This pursuit of the sublime is called kodawari. With no direct translation in English, it's a cross between obsession, passion, and perfectionism. It's what puts Japanese food in a league of its own.
Kodawari can mean finding the best ingredients, cutting the food in the best possible shape, making sure that there are no blemishes showing. I think kodawari is a value placed on doing everything the best you can do.
It should come as no surprise that sushi is sourced daily from the world's biggest and busiest fish market. More than 1,000 vendors hawk their wares in Tsukiji Market in the heart of Tokyo. Covering nearly 30 soccer fields, the market handles more than 400 types of seafood and sells nearly $5 billion worth of fish each year. People flock to the market at the crack of dawn to get their hands on the best catch, headlined by the world-famous bluefin tuna. Barely 100 years ago, tuna was considered peasant food and not tasty enough for sushi. But today, it's the fish that everyone fancies and is willing to pay for.
すごい幅はあります。キロで言えば1キロ2000ぐらいからあるし、上は10万まであるし、10万というと200キロで1本今まで最高値は2000万ですから。
Kazu Miyakami comes to the tuna auction at 3 a.m. every day. He's a middleman on the hunt for choice tuna that he sells on to sushi restaurants. Every day is a gamble, and middlemen like Miyakami work with serious odds. The finest and most expensive tuna are the ones caught off the shores of Japan using a single rod. These fish make the tastiest sushi, but they're a high-risk purchase.
魚が暴れるとすごい高温になるんで身が焼けてしまったりする場合があるんですよ。そういう場合どうしても赤身がパサつくんで。
This is a phenomenon called burning, and it makes the flesh inedible. There's no way to tell the degree of burning in the flesh until the tuna is cut open. It looks promising, though the burning can take time to show. Miyakami must rely on his instincts. Tezuka, a regular customer, owns one of Tokyo's most established sushi restaurants. He's accompanied by his son Yoshi, who's following in his footsteps.
じゃあ今度また1時に僕だけ来ますから見せてください。はい、どうも。
29-year-old Yoshi is Tezuka's son and apprentice. After years of working in Europe as a ski guide, he's returned to inherit Matsuno Sushi, one of Tokyo's most traditional sushi restaurants. The learning curve is steep. Sushi is more art than exact science.
やっぱり僕が最初握りとかで困ったのがご飯の大きさ、シャリの大きさなんですけど、明確に知りたいんですよね。10g とか 15g とか 20g とか、うちの父とかそんなのわからないよの一言で終わっちゃうんですよね。
There's no how-to guide and no instruction manual, so aspiring sushi chefs have a hard time mastering it. Sushi demands an uncompromising approach.
僕がどんなにうまく握っても、どんなにいいお寿司を作っても、多分一生父は超えられないんですよ。
もうちょっと。
これ、はい、どこがでしょう。
やっぱこうきちっと決まってないですよね。ほら巻き物がこういう具合に。
ああ、流れちゃうと。
切れた時にピチッと決まってればいいんだよ。
Yoshi may be allowed to practice making sushi, but one fish is still off limits: the bluefin tuna. Considered the pinnacle of the sushi world, this is the territory of the master. Preparing the bluefin is Japanese perfectionism at its best. How it's sliced, handled, and stored has tremendous bearing on how it will taste as sushi.
この一番トロの部分っていうのは非常に脂が強くて、それから徐々に中トロ、霜降り中トロってなってきて、脂がだんだん薄くなってくるんですね。だから人によって好む人が違いますよね。
There are three main cuts of tuna in sushi: akami, chutoro, and otoro. The cuts of toro, literally meaning to melt, come from the tuna's fatty belly and are the most prized. Yoshi reckons he'll only handle the tuna when his father retires. In the meantime, he needs to hone his skills with the dedication required of a sushi master.
彼は多分この店だけでは満足してないと思うんですよ。これからもうステップアップしたいと思うんですよね。彼の代になるとやっぱりここも少しは変わってくるんじゃないかと思いますね。
There's no doubt the restaurant will change when Yoshi calls the shots. Ironically, it's change that keeps Japanese tradition alive.
Continuity with tradition is extremely important in Japanese foodways. The word dentoteki, which usually means traditionally or traditional, is a word that actually means the preservation of some things and the constant innovation in other things. Nothing stands still. Tradition itself in Japan is said to change.
In fact, sushi as we know it was only invented in the 1800s. The original sushi was quite the opposite of the sushi we know and love today. It wasn't served on balls of rice, and it certainly wasn't fresh.
food in the 1300s needed to be preserved. They didn't have preservation techniques that we have now, so technology that existed then was simply fermentation. And so sushi was all about old fish, not fresh fish.
A type of this fermented sushi, known as funa sushi, is still kept alive by a handful of families around the country. One of them is the Kitashina family, funa sushi makers for 18 continuous generations. Atsushi Kitamura married into this family without any idea what he was getting into.
最初にこの船寿司っていうものを食べた時に今でも覚えてます。こっちからうわーっと電気が走るような衝撃がありました。
With a taste that sometimes compared to blue cheese and a distinctly pungent odor, funa sushi is not for the faint-hearted. But as exotic as fermented fish sounds, the taste of funa sushi is also said to be strangely universal.
前にフランスの方がうちに取材に来られた時にこの船寿司をもう異国の地ですよ完全なるだけどこの食べた時になんか懐かしいおばあちゃんがなんかこんなの作ってくれた
Kitamura still makes funa sushi the authentic way. Freshwater carp is packed with cooked rice into wooden barrels, weighted with stones to create a vacuum, and left to ferment for 2 years. Then the fish is washed and repacked with a fresh batch of rice. After 2 more months of fermenting, the rice and the fish are ready to be eaten. The story of sushi exemplifies the evolution of Japanese food and showcases Japanese ingenuity. The same spirit of innovation that would drive the country into the 21st century.
はい、行きます。3、2、1、頼もう!
The Japanese have a certain obsession in their food culture. Like if you look at the proportion of Japanese TV, I would say food shows take up the spot where violent shows are in America. And it's just so much detail goes into making these shows, almost like food porno. 好きな人と一緒に来て食べさせてあげたいんですね。いただきます。いただきます。
Much of life in Japan seems to revolve around food. But amidst all the weird and the wonderful, nothing has captured people's hearts like the humble ramen. A bowl of noodles in a meat-based broth with a variety of toppings, ramen is Japan's comfort food and a canvas for innovation. It was based on la mian, the Chinese noodle dish brought over by immigrants in the 1800s. But ramen quickly became a uniquely Japanese phenomenon. Today, there are over 80,000 ramen restaurants in Japan with endless variations of this beloved dish.
I think there's a nice contradiction in the fact that so many foods have come to Japan and become Japanese. One of the ways in which Japanese foodways have survived is by taking on a lot of new foods. Constant innovation, constant use of that term, perfectionism, kodawari, that's what makes it Japanese.
Ramen is such an indispensable part of the local diet that one man found a way for people to eat it anytime, anywhere. The late inventor Momofuku Ando created what the country voted their #1 20th century invention: instant ramen.
安藤百福はですね、第二次世界大戦後まだ混乱していた